Hey, I'm Courtney Waterman, your tutor. Lover of anime, manga, and math. And you just tuned into another session of Tutor Me Sempai. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're jumping into a 5th grade topic, unit conversion. Now, if you're new to my channel, I'll be putting timecodes in for this video in the description box below, so use that to skip ahead to whatever part of the video you think is most interesting. As always, if you have any questions we see here today, or even your own homework, you can always put in the comment box below, or visit me on my Facebook page at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. Today's video will be broken into 4 parts, so leave a like, smash the subscribe, and let's get started. In my personal opinion, I don't believe converting units to other units is actually all that difficult. I believe the hardest part of that is remembering your basic unit conversions. Those are tricky. There's so many of them, and if you don't remember those, you really don't have any place to start. So what I recommend is remember your basic unit conversions, and to do that, you're going to need a basic unit conversion sheet. So if you have a sheet like this, notice that on this sheet you have a lot of units and what they convert to. Memorizing a sheet like this is going to give you what you need to do more complex unit conversions later. Now, if you luck up and you have a teacher that doesn't require you to remember this, if they, let's say, give you a sheet like this for your homework or maybe even test, then no worries. You've pretty much bypassed the hardest part. But if you do need to remember these, I recommend starting with the more common ones and getting those under your belt. Do whatever it takes, whether you're writing them down a bunch of times or making a song out of them, anything and everything to remember them, because without this, you will not be able to do more complex unit conversions. So once you have these under your belt, you have everything you need in order to do more complex ones. Let's see how. So in our first example, we want to convert this 190,080 inches into feet. How many feet do you have when you have this many inches? Now, you might not even need that basic unit conversion sheet in order to do this. You might already know that there are 12 inches in a foot, so that's perfectly fine. Don't worry about bringing up the sheet every time if you already remembered something, right? So we're going to start there. We know that there are 12 inches in a foot. So this is going to be our first step. Whenever we're trying to convert units, I recommend first writing down the basic conversion that you're going to need in order to solve this. We have a quick reference instead of looking at an entire sheet. So how do we set up this conversion? The first thing you want to do is write your first unit. So this is our first unit here. I'm going to try to abbreviate our units as much as possible to save space. After you write your first one, you're going to have to multiply. Always multiply. And then you write your bar. This is going to be very important because we want to cancel out the unit that we don't want and only leave the unit that we do. So we have inches and feet. Where are we trying to end up with? We're trying to end up with feet, right? So feet is going to go right up top. And you'll see why in a second. Inches is going to go here. And we said that there's 12 inches in 1 foot. So 1 foot, 12 inches. You're going to pretty much do your basic conversion and write it like this. And the reason we said it like this with our 12 inches in the denominator is because we want the unit that we're trying to get rid of to be diagonal from each other, right? You see we have a unit here and a unit here. Now you might be thinking, wait, Courtney, this is not diagonal. This is a whole number and this is a fraction. Well, remember, all whole numbers can be written as fractions by simply putting them over 1. So if you have a whole number like this, throw it over 1. Now you see they are truly diagonal. And if you're unsure how we're going to get rid of inches like this, remember, whenever you're multiplying fractions, you can pretty much rearrange them across their tops and bottoms. And what I mean is, there's a 12 inches here. We can easily, because they're connected through multiplication, write 12 inches on this side, and we can have the 1 on this side. Now we have something with all inches over here, and we have something with a foot over here. Now we simply divide. Notice inches in the top and inches in the bottom means that the inches go away, which is great because we no longer want inches. Now we have to figure out, what is this number? What do you get when you have 190,080 divided by 12? Well, that's going to give us 15,840. Notice we no longer have our inches. What is the only unit that we have available to write? Feet, right? We figured out this, and we're going to pretty much multiply by 1, right? So nothing changed. Multiply by 1 foot. So this becomes feet. 15,840 feet. We have now converted this big number in inches into this slightly smaller number in feet. Let's keep going with another example. So for our next example, we want to convert 15,840 feet into miles. So we no longer want feet, we want miles now. We want to figure out how many miles do we have when we have this many feet. The first thing we want to do is figure out what's our basic unit conversion that's going to be helpful to solve this problem. Well, that's going to be how many feet are in a single mile, right? And we know that we have 5,280 feet in 1 mile. And we know that by looking at our basic unit conversion sheet. If you have that sheet, make sure you have it handy so that you can easily find how many feet are in a single mile. This is your basic unit conversion that's going to be helpful to tackle this question. Once you have that down, we set it up the same way. You start with your first unit. So that's 15,840 feet, and we want to go to miles. So what are we going to do? Multiply, right? Set it the same exact way. You have your line, your bar there, right? And are we going to put feet in the top, or are we going to put feet in the bottom? Feet in the bottom, right? Because we want them to be diagonal. Once again, if you're not seeing the diagonal, put it over 1. Now we have feet in the bottom, so we can put miles up top. Now we just fill it in with our basic unit conversion that we wrote up here. We have 1 mile, not really miles, but mile, and we have 5,280 feet. Remember, I said you can move things across your bottoms and tops. So technically, you can rewrite this as such. You can have the 5,280 feet here, and you can have the 1 on this part. So I recommend if you're writing down all of these steps, put what I just did as its own step so you can follow along with what you did. I have very limited space, and to avoid having to erase a ton, I'm trying to condense as much as I can. However, please, if you're following along, make sure that's its own step so you don't get confused. But now you see that we have all the feet on one side, and we have mile by itself over here. So feet are going to cancel out, and you're left with 15,840 over 5,280. What do you get when you do that division? That's going to be 3. So we multiply by 1 mile because that's the only unit we have left, and this becomes 3 miles. Now you can see that as long as you have your basic unit conversion, your setup is pretty simple. Converting units to other units doesn't have to be that hard. Let's look at one more example in which I show you how you can pretty much combine our example 1 and example 2 into one large step. In this example, we want to go from inches all the way to miles in one step. So our first 2 examples broke this up into 2 steps, essentially, right? 2 separate problems. But you don't have to do that. You can do it all at once as long as you have your basic conversions. So let's start with that. What are your basic conversions that will be necessary in order to do this? Previously, we only had 1. But now you see we have an additional step. So we need both of them. So let's say we have 12 inches in a foot, 1 foot, and we have 5,280 feet in 1 mile. Those are going to be our 2 basic conversions that we're going to be needing in order to solve this question. Now we set it up. Start with your first unit. We have 190,080 inches. And what's the first thing we want to get rid of? Now this is important. Order is important. Only so you don't get confused. Technically, it doesn't matter what the order is because it's all multiplied. But I want you to see how things are going to fall away. So don't get confused. Write it in the order in which it's going to fall away. When you become more familiar with this topic, sure, do whatever you want. Put it in any order. However, when you're first getting to know this topic, put it in the order that makes sense in which it's going to fall away. And what do I mean by that? The first thing we have to get rid of is the inches. So instead of going all the way to feet and miles, let's stick with our inches and feet. So we do our multiplication, put a slightly smaller bar because we have more we have to do, and we're going to put the inches in the bottom. Remember, inches are always in the bottom when we have inches in the top on this side. We want them to be diagonal. This is over 1, in case you forgot. Feet are going to go up here because we want to get rid of our inches here. So feet has to go on the top. And we know we have 1 foot for every 12 inches. But we don't want to stop there because we're not stopping at feet, we're stopping at miles. So we need to have another multiplication, another bar, and we need to have feet down here in order to cancel out this foot. Now we have miles up top, and we're going to fill this in because we have 5,280 feet per 1 mile. Keep doing that. 1 mile. This is how you can set it up in one fell swoop and have things cancel. Now, if you want to rearrange things, you can. You can. There's no problem rearranging things. However, it is a somewhat of a shortcut to not do that and simply realize that when you have them in diagonals, you're going to get rid of them. When you have them in diagonals, you're going to get rid of them. As long as they're in diagonals, you can get rid of them. Notice the only thing we have left is miles. So we're on the right track. Now let's combine everything so we see what we have to multiply and divide. Much better. Now what do you get when you have 12 times 5280? You get 63,360. All under that right there. And this is going to be miles. Now we have one last division. What is 190,080 over 63,360? Well, this is going to be 3. And it should be 3, right? This should be 3 because that's what we found in our last example. 3 miles. That is the answer. So we had 190,080 inches and we took it all the way to 3 miles. Pretty much all at once. Now this can get bigger and bigger and bigger as you're going into more and more and more units. It doesn't have to stop at just 2 or 3 or even 4. If you want to convert miles to something else and then that into something else, you can do it. You set it up the same exact way, but remember, you want to have the things you're going to get rid of in your diagonals, diagonal from each other. So I hope you're following today's examples, and I hope you see that converting units to other units doesn't have to be too difficult. As long as you have your basic unit conversions, which you can get from your basic unit conversion sheet, you have everything you need to do the task. And if you don't have your own basic unit conversion sheet, I'll put the link to the one I found online in the description box below. If you have any questions about what you saw today, remember you can always put in the comment box below or visit me on my Facebook page at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. If you haven't done so already, remember to leave that like. It really helps the channel by letting YouTube know that you found this video helpful. And if you found the video helpful, so can someone else. So leave a like, hit the notification bell, smash the subscribe button, and share this video with a friend. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I'm really hoping this helped with your homework. I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. I'm Courtney, and this is another session of Tutor Me Sempai.